The other day, I was working the show, and it was just me and another guy at the bar. At the beginning of the shift, he made a joke about his mother passing away. And when the customers were like, "Oh," he was like, "Oh no, I'm just kidding." And to preface this next part, I assume this man was kidding now, especially because of the previous joke. But at the time, I wasn't thinking that. But he had a customer. It was pretty slow that night, and he made a joke about his father dropping him off at football practice and never showing back up. And me being me and bored, when I hear something I can relate to, I will just naturally jump into the conversation if I have a chance to. So I was like, yeah, I felt that. My father ghosted me and moved to Colorado, which is true. He was living in Charlotte, and I remember trying to hit him up to see if I could take my brother to what's a music park out there called? It's Carowinds. I wanted to take my little brother to Carowinds, and I was trying to hit my dad up. Well, my father. My father. I don't have a dad. But he never responded. And I was like, what? And then eventually I end up texting my stepmother, and she's like, oh yeah, we moved back to Colorado. And I was like, sick, which she's been my stepmother since I was 7, and it's not necessarily her responsibility to tell me those things. My father should have definitely done that, but my father's never really been present in my life, especially towards me. So, but in the time period he lived in Charlotte, it's the closest he's ever lived to me in my life. And I saw him 3 times total. The first time was whenever I was living in Charleston still. I drove me and my sister up. And then the second time was Christmas Eve, whenever him, my stepmother, and sister all attacked me on Christmas Eve, which was amazing. And then after that, didn't see them until before he ghosted me, and I had to drive up there for lunch, and I thought we were gonna have like a day of it, and we literally just go for lunch, and that was it. Everyone just starts dispersing around the house and everything. It felt very strange, and so I just ended up leaving and coming back to Raleigh. So that's the total amount of times I saw him in that time period, and it was over a span of like years, because at least in the time period in Raleigh, it was 5 years. And I do want to know, the first time, I'm not even sure if he was living in Charlotte or if we were just visiting my stepmother's brother and his wife. So like technically my step uncle and aunt. So I'm not 100% sure if they were even living there at the time, but I remember that day I drove me and my sister up, and my sister got really, really drunk, so I had to drive us back. So I had to drive there and back in one day, and my sister threw up in my car. But I'm 28 now, and the last time my father really attempted to see me was whenever he flew me out whenever I was 19, I think. And sure, if that man never addressed the moving to Colorado situation, it is what it is. But with that being said, I did not mean to shame the guy I was working with whatsoever. I honestly just say things in such like a deadpan way because I just laugh about the audacity of some of my life experiences sometimes. But it's like that shit actually happened to me. It did. But I just imagine, what if he said that shit in front of someone whose parent actually had died, or he was working with someone whose parent actually died and he was kidding about that kind of shit. Like, who does that? And I just remember him looking over at me, and he mumbled, "Sorry to hear that." But after that, he did not tell another joke like that, and I've worked with him since, and he still hasn't told a joke like that in my presence at the very least.